And welcome to Inner Wisdom. I'm Carolyn Craft, and so glad that you have joined us this hour. I have a guest on my show this time who you have come to know from her spiritual adventure in her own life. She has shared this not only with us on Inner Wisdom and Wisdom Radio, but also in her writings. You know her from Do What You Love, The Money Will Follow, and also Ordinary People as Monks and Mystics. And then we most recently talked about the mentor spirit. And as always, when I have Marcia Senator on with us and join her, we never seem to get to cover everything that we want to cover, but we're going to talk today about spiritual intelligence, what we can learn from the early awakening child. Marcia, thanks for being with us this hour.
Oh, Carolyn, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
You know, I want to start off with something that someone has said about you, but I thought they said it so beautifully, and I wanted to share this with our listeners. Although she routinely shuns the media spotlight, the strength of the influence of her body of work has made her one of America's foremost exponents of the practical value of spiritual wholeness. To her, spiritual maturity brings concrete life skills. I want to add here and underscore that every time I speak with you, whether it's just in the office, 1 week in a moment or two, or when we speak sort of professionally like this over the air, that you open my heart, and I am changed by just the work that you are doing yourself, not just what you say, but the work that you are doing.
Oh, thank you so much. Your comments uplift me and give me encouragement, because sometimes, Carolyn, that I work pretty much alone, nonstop, and so there are discouraging moments, but thank you for your uplifting remarks.
Well, you are bringing to the forefront this idea of spiritual intelligence, and it flows and seems to go quite well together, but give us an idea of what is spiritual intelligence and what are some of the ways we can recognize it.
Well, I think in a nutshell, we could say it's inspired thought. You could think of it as intuition, the animation of our essential essence. Each of us has a unique essential essence, and at the same time, we have a kind of universal life-affirming movement within us. Another way of thinking about it is like a receptivity, heightened receptivity to a kind of inner signal. You could think of it like being a radio with a finely tuned, very sensitive antenna, and you're picking up the inner signal without a lot of outside static. And I think what I'm saying is that this is not something that we measure exactly, although there are behavioral components that I suppose clinicians will want to measure. I'm writing as an educator. I'm also writing certain biases, a point of view. And I'm saying, let's just marvel that we each have the opportunity to sort of hone our equipment, so to speak.
Yeah.
And become more intuitive, inspired, and so forth.
Well, while you're recognizing many, and I hope that you'll take some time too during this hour to talk about some of those people, specifically the Maya Angelous, the Nelson Mandelas, the Gandhis, I get a sense that while we can recognize those people that are grown up as well as look at our children, that this is something that maybe we all can or do possess and maybe haven't tapped into as well?
Well, this is the beautiful thing about what I think is the book itself, and that is that I have found examples. And once I started looking, I found just an onslaught of examples of young people, children, who mirror what we have in us and what we have had in us all along. So in other words, I'm saying that everyone is capable, not only capable of developing, as you say, spiritual intelligence, but it comes with the package. In other words, it comes with us as we come into the world, and always has been with us. So it's a matter of fine-tuning the mechanism, the awareness, which is what it is, and downplaying some of the outside static. I call it static because it's interference with the animation of who we are. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah,
you just have to kind of keep refining the heightened awareness that we all have as part of being who we are, and downplay the obstacles around that.
I get a sense that it's by even showcasing this as something to look for, and you're talking about those people that have always demonstrated it from childhood. That
Yes.
again, you're talking about something on this word is overused, but on the cutting edge of where we are evolving to.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think, for example, if just to speak specifically for a minute, if we take the sculptress Louise Nevelson, when she was a young girl, she said, and I think this is what many of us feel, but she said it as a young girl. She said, some of us when we were young wanted something other than convention offers. We wanted exactly what life really gives, something that would justify our being here. And she said, I meant it and I would take nothing less. So you see something going on inside as a kind of what I call gainful employment. The person is purposeful. They have a sense of destiny or where they're going. And so if we look at, and the only reason I mention people who are famous is so that we have a shared point of reference.
Yes.
For example, the life of Helen Keller, George O'Keeffe, the American artist, Gandhi, Bob Geldof, the Live Aid organizer and musician, John Muir, who I've talked about in almost every book I've written, Ben Shahn, the graphic artist. And then you can start looking at people that you admire close to you or far. And you see the same patterns. You see this heightened awareness in youth. And I'm talking about even mothers who report that in the womb they felt something different about one baby than another in their family. One quiet and gentle, reflective and kind of dreamy. The other one agitated, active, aggressive, ambitious, like that. So we ourselves, to your point, collectively, I think we're raising our consciousness about what's going on in us of a gainful employment and attending to that. And I think it's the attending to that that makes the difference, because everybody has it, but some people pay attention.
Does it have anything to do with, there's a lot now about emotional intelligence, of course, that being different from IQ tests and so forth. Where does spiritual intelligence play into this?
Well, spiritual intelligence, as I envision it, as I apprehend it, is the underpinning of life. It's the underpinning of everything. So from spiritual intelligence comes the particularity of the individual. One individual will have a heightened awareness about, let's say, an artistic vocation, a way to be in the world that defines the individual and serves the greater good, that has to do, let's say, with painting or sculpting. I'll get to emotional intelligence in a minute, but if I could just say that Georgia O'Keeffe, when she was interviewed on a PBS special, remarked about her own childhood, saying that when she was small, she felt in her skull certain shapes, abstract shapes, wanting to be expressed. And all of her life was an opportunity, in a way, to keep exploring that. But she actually felt it inside of herself. All right, now to emotional intelligence, that's certainly a component of all of the wisdoms that we have. We have leadership intelligence. Some people that we know are artful with groups and very influential because of it. We have other people who are emotionally intelligent, as you say. They make our wonderful social workers and caretakers and parents and like that. They sort of grease the wheels of society for us. But all of this, I think, each of our particularity comes from the fountain of spiritual intelligence. This is our life and our breath, and it is the way in which we have our particular being.
What are some of the traits for us to look for, not only in the children that are with us right now, but some of the older children and in adults too? What are some of the traits of the spiritual intelligence?
Yes, it's going back to what you said earlier in our conversation that there are some behaviors or qualities that we can recognize, and one of them we've talked about is just this inspired thought that there's the kind of sense, as Nevelson said, that there's something going on inside and we want to explore it. And it's particular. It's not just general excitement. It's a kind of purposefulness. The second thing, and I won't go through these in numbers, but there's an authority, a very early authority born of that. So when you speak to someone, no matter who it is, but particularly a child, and they have a kind of what psychologists call it isness, they're all there.
Uh-huh.
You might be talking about the weather, the butterfly, a hamburger, but they know what they want, and they speak up for it. Or if they're very shy, you kind of sense in their stillness a desire for this or for that. That's the authority born of this inner wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So not everything is going to be all right for them. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
There's preferences. I guess what I'm saying in that is that it's fine to have preferences. Gandhi, I talk about as a boy who had natural leadership ability, even though he liked to play alone. And he was very specific when he played with other children, and this is what I mean about authority. He would play with them only when they allowed him to take over the role of mediator or peacemaker. and
It's hard to imagine Gandhi as a little child,
it
you
is,
know.
but he was like a, and this is the other thing I'm leading to also, is that these are what in as early as the 11th century people were calling little old souls.
Oh.
So you meet someone, they could be 80 years old, they could be 5 years old, and you get the feeling that this is somebody that's, we have the expression, they've been here before. In other words, they kind of know the score. And you look in their eyes, and they've got it all sized up. You, the situation, where they're going, everything. Even though at 5 years old, they couldn't possibly know the score.
Well, Marcia, let's take a break. And when we come back, I'd like to talk more on some of the artistry, I think, that we do see in some of these children and how they can awaken it within ourselves. You're listening to Marcia Sinatar, Carolyn Craft on Inner Wisdom. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned.